Previously, we talked about light fighters, their role in a naval engagement, various tactics and teamwork strategies, and various loadout types to get the most out of these nimble skirmishers. Welcome pilots, my name is Hybrid V, and in this video we are now going to cover the numerous types of variations of combat light fighters currently in Star Citizen. To kick things off, let's talk about the starter light fighters. Starter light fighters are closer to personal craft than proper naval fighters. They lack health and firepower compared to their military counterparts, but they make up for it with decent utilities such as being able to shuttle cargo or having smaller emissions output. These are great personal defense craft when traveling from point A to point B or doing any light combat duty, say, against PvE threats. Just don't expect them to be of any significant use during an actual frontline engagement. The Origin 125A has a single shield generator, 2 size 3 hardpoints, and a small cargo port. It is a fast light fighter to start a combat career with, but with its single shield generator and very low health, it tends to die very fast in a nose-to-nose engagement versus any other purpose-built frontline fighter. It also has the poorest maneuverability of all other starter light fighters. It makes up for this severe drawback by having very powerful main engines, which gives it better forward acceleration, higher SCM boost speeds, and a higher nav mode top speed. This ship is best used in a boom and zoom interceptor role, chasing down fleeing threats and firing at targets during high speed passes. The RSI Aurora Legionnaire, or LN as it's known for short, has a bit more HP than a 125A, but it's also able to sport 4 size 1 guns and also has poor maneuverability. Now, despite its sluggishness, it does come with 2 shield generators, meaning it can take a bit of heat when the lasers start to fly. And the size 1 guns also have a larger capacitor pool for laser weapons, so pilots of these craft can hold down the trigger on targets for a good while. Another benefit is its smaller profile and emissions compared to other fighters. The lower emissions means it can flit in and out of passive radar when booming and zooming targets, frustrating opponents. The Mustang Delta sports 4 size 2 guns and has decent maneuverability, but not the best compared to, say, the Gladius. It does, however, have a very small cross-section and armor that absorbs radar signatures, meaning that this ship can flit in and out of radar during combat, frustrating opponents trying to hunt it down, although this lower emissions output is not as dramatic as the Auroras. Combat light fighters are fully combat oriented and are typically fielded in military and militia outfits around the verse. They excel in turn fights, able to nimbly dodge fire while dishing out the heat, and they also come with good firepower and some level of extra protection to keep them alive during a heated exchange. An example of the combat light fighter is the Aegis Gladius with its 2 shield generators and 3 size 3 hardpoints. One of the oldest combat vessels in existence in Star Citizen's lore, it can trade and evade with the best of them. It tends to be the standard that many light fighters get compared to. Its biggest weakness is its fragility despite the 2 shield generators. Even so, a good combat pilot can be very slippery, making this ship a frustrating opponent to deal with. The Anvil Arrow sports a single shield generator, 2 size 3 hardpoints, and its remote turret with 2 size 1 guns. It trades protection and firepower for a lighter mass, giving it much higher agility compared to the Gladius. It also has a smaller cross-section than the Gladius, which makes it hard to hit in an actual nose-to-nose scenario. Coupled with excellent evasion strategies, the Arrow can slip in and out of combat very effectively, making this ship a frustrating opponent to deal with in the right hands. Just keep in mind its fragility. Now, on the opposite spectrum, we have the MISC Reliant, which is technically a starter ship. However, the Tana variant of the Reliant is a combat light fighter that outclasses other starters, putting it squarely in the combat light fighter role. It comes with a small cargo bay, 2 shield generators, and twice the health pool of a Gladius, as well as 4 guns, 2 size 3 and 2 size 2. The Tana is large, making it a very easy target to hit. However, it is also much beefier than other light fighters of its class, and as a result trading maneuverability for that extra health and shielding, making the Tana a true multi-role light fighter, blurring the line between a light and medium fighter. Just don't expect it to stand up fully to direct combat from the likes of a proper medium fighter such as a Hornet. Make sure you have proper support when operating this craft in the combat space. The Asperia Blade is a replica Vanduul light fighter, with maneuverability, shielding, and health comparable to a Gladius. It sports two size 3 and two size 2 cannons that cannot be replaced. The blade packs a lot of punch in a fast-moving package. Much like the Gladius, its weakness is its fragility. However, the blade does impressive amounts of damage compared to the Gladius due to its bespoke cannons. Its quad weapon layout creates two separate pips due to the different projectile speeds of each weapon platform, which can make shot placement a bit of a chore in combat. Even worse is that, since like I mentioned before, the weapons cannot be replaced to overcome this issue, which can be a big drawback depending on what you're looking for. The Asperia Talon is a replica Tavaran light fighter, sporting two massive size 4 guns, comparable maneuverability to the Gladius, and more than twice its HP. And also it sports somewhat of a stealthy hull, which reduces its radar signatures to boot. The Talon is a beast in adversarial combat, with its main weakness being that its maneuvering thrusters are tied to its large, easy-to-hit wings, causing it to lose control once a wing is lost. The Talon is a great ambush predator in a frontline engagement. The Shrike variant of the Talon is a missile boat light fighter, sporting 24 missiles in its 2 missile racks. It also keeps the same maneuverability of the base Talon at the cost of weapon size. The Shrike only sports two size 2 guns to shave off the excess weight from missiles to keep the maneuverability comparable to the base Talon. The Shrike is an excellent harasser, and in a pinch it can go toe-to-toe in a dogfight against other light fighters, though it primarily is a support craft due to the weak guns. The Apoa Cartual is a Xi'an scout fighter with maneuverability comparable to a Gladius, twice the health, and 2 shield generators, and also 2 very scary size 4 guns. The Cartual is a veritable wrecking ball, with its biggest downside being its large size, which makes it very easy to hit, especially against its engines. This means the Cartual is a magnet for incoming rounds. Use the ship's superior agility to slip in and out of combat to avoid being overwhelmed. The Banu Defender, much like the Reliant Tana, blurs the line between a medium and light fighter. While not having as much health as a proper frontline medium fighter like a Hornet, and having slightly worse maneuverability profile than the Tana, the Defender makes up for it with 4 size 3 guns and a very beefy size 2 shield. Its biggest weakness are that its maneuvering thrusters are tied to its arms. It can still fly if it loses an arm, but the flight profile will be severely hampered due to the torque imbalance. Currently, the Defender is the only light fighter in the game with a size 2 shield, making it a very sticky threat even against other purpose-built medium fighters. The Aegis Saber is a stealth fighter with 2 shield generators, 4 size 3 guns, and slightly worse maneuverability than that of the Reliant Tana and Banu Defender. It also has an astonishing amount of health compared to the Tana and Defender, even outclassing the F-7A Hornet Mark II's health. Despite this health advantage, the Saber is mediocre at best when it comes to dogfighting due to its poor maneuverability. Instead, the Saber relies on its stealth to get in and out to do damage, preferably against targets that are not even aware of it, much like a light fighter would. This makes the Saber a light and medium fighter crossbreed, able to fulfill either role at will. The Anvil Hawk is a light fighter built for bounty hunting duty, but it can also carry its weight in a proper combat engagement, sporting 2 shield generators, 2 size 1 guns, and 4 size 2 guns, and almost double the health of the Gladius, but weaker maneuverability in comparison. In a frontline engagement, the Hawk can dish out the pain against other light craft. It also carries an ace up its sleeve in the form of an EMP generator. While not as powerful as the Saber Raven due to its having only just the one EMP generator, it still has enough juice to affect mobility and even disable enemy MFDs. This makes it an excellent utility fighter in a scrap. Just be sure it has cover, as its lack of speed and maneuverability makes it vulnerable to focused attacks. Interceptors trade maneuverability in favor of blistering fast accelerations, high top speeds, and raw firepower. They excel at hunting down fleeing prey, springing ambushes, and booming and zooming heavier threats. When tangled in a dogfight, however, the lack of maneuverability of an Interceptor leaves it vulnerable to other nimble light fighters that can easily get off its nose. These ships tend to be the most difficult to field due to this lack of maneuverability. Light Interceptors include the Drake Buccaneer, with its 2 size 2 guns, 2 size 3 guns, and a big size 4 dorsal mount. The Buccaneer packs a lot of firepower in a small frame. It also sports 2 shield generators and more health than a Gladius. It's a perfect run-and-gun platform that can dive in on heavier opponents, dish out the heat, and flee before the response. Its biggest weakness is its large engines that give it its excellent speed. Once one engine is damaged or destroyed, it becomes near impossible to control due to the torque imbalance. And in classic Drake fashion, it lacks an ejection seat as well. The Origin 325A sports a small cargo bay, 2 shield generators, and 2 size 3 guns along with a size 4 nose gun. It has less health than a Buccaneer, and its luxury pedigree makes it much heavier. But despite its heft and fragility, it does have a much higher top speed for both SCM and nav mode compared to the Buccaneer. It also guzzles hydrogen fuel at rapid rates. Currently, the 325A is one of the weakest of the light fighter interceptors. However, it still can do good work in a good pilot's hands, especially as a nav mode hunter. It is better utilized in a very specific role such as reconnaissance and harassing of runners in a dogfight. The Aegis Avenger Titan has a cargo bay, a generous amount of health compared to the previous 2 interceptors, and 2 shield generators along with a size 4 nose gun and 2 size 3 wing guns. Utilized by the Navy as a training fighter, the Avenger is a solid all-around interceptor. Don't sleep on these during a battle, as they can seriously hurt if you choose to ignore them. Though due to their larger than average size, they are easy targets to hit. Like all interceptors, don't get caught in a turn fight. Use your superior speed to dish out the damage and escape. Pick the Stalker variant of the Titan if you want to maximize its speed and maneuverability. A variant of the Titan is the Warlock, which is an E-War specialized interceptor. It sports the same hardpoints as the Titan, but eschews the cargo bay in favor of an EMP generator, granting the Warlock more utility for its interceptor role, hunting down and focusing fire on individual threats and disabling them with devastating EMP hits. It forgoes a fuel scoop that its base model utilizes in order to fit the EMP generator. This lowers its endurance on the battlefield as the Warlock will need regular refueling to operate for long periods. The Aegis Saber Raven is a light interceptor variant of the Saber, sporting 2 size 3 guns and 2 size 1 shields and a very stealthy hull. The Raven is not a frontline brawler, but what it lacks in firepower it makes up for it with its 2 size 2 Tromag Burst EMP generators, capable of dealing over 5,000 points of distortion damage in a single EMP burst. It can knock out unshielded light fighters out of the sky with ease. Its biggest drawback is that it is a very rare ship that cannot be purchased in-game or with real money. The Saber Raven can be very effective at punishing fleeing ships and shutting down light support craft like the Mantis or Firebird. Speaking of which, the Saber Firebird is a missile boat variant of the Saber Raven. The Firebird has the same weapons, shields, and stealth profile of the Raven combined with a healthy missile complement, making it an excellent skirmisher that skirts the edges of a fight, lobbing missiles at the threats inside. Its excellent top speed and acceleration makes it a very sticky ship to deal with as it can easily flee when pressed by the enemy. Its main drawback is that its weakness is against other combat light fighters and other interceptors that can easily hunt it down and shred it to pieces. Stay constantly on the move with this ship and use its stealth to its advantage. The Firebird can be a huge danger to heavier fighters and multi-crew ships due to its large EM missile complement, which heavy craft tend to struggle and evade with even with countermeasures. The Mantis is a proper light interdictor with blistering fast speeds and a quantum entanglement device. This ship has the capability of stopping ships fleeing into nav mode with its dampener and even catch ships in mid-quantum with its snare. Sporting 2 size 1 shields and 2 size 3 guns, and more than twice the health of a Gladius, the Mantis can be a sticky annoyance. However, it cannot use its interdiction equipment when in nav mode, making it vulnerable to retaliation from proper frontline fighters. It offsets this weakness with a much higher than average SCM and boost top speed. However, while using its QED equipment, the Mantis is extremely vulnerable to EM missiles due to the spike in emissions. As a proper support platform, the Mantis is vulnerable to focused attacks, so always make sure it has support when being utilized in a combat engagement. Alright, so which ship is the best light fighter of the bunch? Let's go ahead and go down the list for each category, starting with the starter light fighters. Now, my personal favorite is the Mustang Delta of the starters. Well, none of the starters are actually really great, in my opinion, when it comes to a frontline naval engagement, but if I was stuck in having to pick one, the Delta would be my go-to due to it at least having some decent maneuverability. Although its rocket pods can be really annoying since A, you can't remove them, and B, it creates a second pip, which averages the pip coverage making targeting a chore. Now, you can turn them on and off in the MFDs to fix that issue, but unfortunately what happens now currently is if you go into and exit nav mode, the weapons will be powered on again anyway, which is extremely aggravating and is an issue that still hasn't even been fixed in 3.24. So yeah. Now, my runner-up would probably be the 125A because it's extremely fast, but really, to be honest, I wouldn't use it for any serious combat. I would just use it because it looks cool. Alright, now for combat light fighters, I'm always going to give it to the Gladius, and that is because it's a fun ship to fly that can really hold its own in a 1v1 and in team fights. A close runner-up for me would also be a tie between the Defender and the Tana, mostly because those ships are just weird with how similar they are to other medium fighters like a Hornet. They have really good multi-role capabilities, so they can be very flexible in a head-to-head engagement. So, quite interesting ships, to be honest. Now for Interceptors, I'm a big fan of the Raven right now, currently, as I'm an owner of one. It just happens to be a very dangerous ambush predator that can shut down light and even medium ships with ease, thanks to its EMP. Now the runner-up, of course, for me would be the Firebird, since it's essentially a Saber Raven, and has all the strengths of the Raven coupled with EM missiles, which are the current meta right now, and this makes it a brutally effective support platform in the verse right now, especially against heavy fighters. Now, of course, everything that I have talked about here today, folks, is subject to change. It will eventually change, especially when 4.0 arrives, which is going to do additional rebalancing of the flight model, rebalancing of weapons, and of course, introducing engineering for multi-crew ships. But hopefully this video does give you some insight into the dynamics of each ship and the role they are going to be playing in a naval engagement, as well as giving you an idea of what to look out for when perusing shops in-game for your next purchase of a light fighter. Alright folks, that's it for me today, talking about the various light fighters currently in the game and the best ones for naval combat, their roles, and how to best utilize them. If you did indeed enjoy this video, please leave a like as it really does help out the channel, and of course if you want to see more videos like this and much more down the line, be sure to subscribe as well. And of course, if you want to go a little bit above and beyond that, you could consider becoming a channel member like these fine folks right here, whose contributions help me immensely when it comes to researching and putting this stuff together for you all. But until next time, fly safe, and I'll see you all in the black.